Hello friends, let us now learn about some MCQs in stomach in surgery. First, question number 1. Commonest cause of death in peptic ulcer patients is? The commonest cause of death in peptic ulcer patients is hemorrhage. Hemorrhage is the commonest cause of death in peptic ulcer patients. Question number 2. Posterior perforation of peptic ulcer. The posterior perforation of peptic ulcer, the disappearance of abdominal wall rigidity is due to. Actually, if there is any perforation, then there will be rigidity of abdomen. There will be guarding seen. But if this perforation, the contents of or the collection, if it is seen in the lesser sac, then you will not see any peritonitis. Normally, if there is any perforation, the contents of the bowel reaches the peritoneum and it inflames the peritoneal cavity, leading to peritonitis. But sometimes, though there is perforation, but this perforation does not cause peritonitis if the contents are collected in the emmental bursa rather than in peritoneum. And there is no guarding is also seen. No guarding is seen in anterior perforation. In posterior perforation. Next, question number 3. Proton pump inhibitors for peptic ulcer should be taken. Proton pump inhibitors should always be taken before breakfast, because proton pump inhibitors need acid environment to become activated. If they are given on empty stomach, they have acid environment for activation. So given before breakfast. Then because they require acid environment for activation, they should not be given along with antacids and H2 blockers, because antacids and H2 blockers block the acid secretion. So even after giving antacids and H2 blockers, if you give proton pump inhibitors, then naturally proton pump inhibitor is not activated and thus it does not act. Then question number 4. H. pylori is associated with how much percentage of gastric ulcers? Actually, H. pylori is associated with 75% of gastric ulcers. Close to it is 80% of gastric ulcers. Whereas H. pylori is associated with 90% of duodenal ulcers. It is associated with 75% of gastric ulcers and 90% of duodenal ulcers. Then question number 5. A patient who has undergone partial gastrectomy presents with neurological symptoms. Partial gastrectomy with neurological symptoms. What is the most probable diagnosis? When there is partial gastrectomy, then there is decreased production of intrinsic factor. Then intrinsic factor is necessary for vitamin B12 absorption. Because of the deficiency of intrinsic factor, there is vitamin B12 deficiency. Thus, the patient presents with neurological symptoms. So, the most probable diagnosis for partial gastrectomy with neurological symptoms is vitamin B12 deficiency. Next, question number 6. Surgery of choice for chronic duodenal ulcer is? For chronic duodenal ulcer, the surgery of choice is highly selective vagotomy is done for chronic duodenal ulcer. For chronic duodenal ulcer, surgery of choice is highly selective vagotomy. But the problem in highly selective vagotomy is it has increased risk of recurrence is seen in highly selective vagotomy. Then question number 7. Patient presents with recurrent duodenal ulcer of 2.5 centimeter size. Procedure is, if there is recurrent duodenal ulcer, then you should do truncal vagotomy and antrectomy. Remember, if it is normal surgery of choice for chronic duodenal ulcer, it is highly selective vagotomy. Surgery of choice for recurrent duodenal ulcer is truncal vagotomy and antrectomy. We do not do highly selective vagotomy for recurrent duodenal ulcers, because if we do highly selective vagotomy for recurrent duodenal ulcer, the main complication of highly selective vagotomy is recurrence. So obviously the recurrence rates increases, right? So we do truncal vagotomy and antrectomy for recurrent duodenal ulcer. Then question number 8. Lowest recurrence rate in duodenal ulcer treatment is seen in. Lowest recurrence rate in duodenal ulcer is seen in truncal vagotomy and antrectomy. Highest recurrence rate is seen in highly selective vagotomy, whereas lowest recurrence rate is seen in truncal vagotomy and antrectomy. Then question number 9. All of the following are indications for surgery in case of duodenal ulcer except. All of the following are indications of surgery in case of duodenal ulcer except. Look, if there is perforation, we should do surgery immediately if it is hemodynamically imbalanced. Then, in pyloric stenosis, we definitely have to do surgery at the end, which is Ramstead pyloroplasty is done. For massive hemorrhage, that is bleeding, we should do surgery. We should do duodenotomy and ligate the vessels for massive hemorrhage. And if there is typical periodicity, we do not do surgery for periodicity. Then question number 10. All are true about highly selective vagotomy except. In highly selective vagotomy, all are true. We will see the statements. It spares antral fibers. In highly selective vagotomy, it does not spare antral fibers. It will spare only the nerve of Letharget, and it will also spare hepatic branch and celiac branch. Antral fibers and the fibers to parietal cells are selectively removed in highly selective vagotomy. Nerve of Grassi is resected. True. Nerve of Grassi is resected. Pyloroplasty can be done in highly selective vagotomy. Gastric tone is altered. Definitely. Then question number 11. Treatment of type 2 and type 3 gastric ulcers is. In type 2 and type 3 gastric ulcers, we do vagotomy and antrectomy as treatment for type 2 and type 3 gastric ulcers. For type 2 and type 3 gastric ulcers, we do vagotomy and antrectomy. So, thank you guys for watching my lecture. Thank you.